Sometimes it just takes me a minute to get to it, but I promise I will get to some of the suggestions. But why is Modi so popular in China?
This Prime Minister Narendra Modi.
Ain't no fucking way.
A man who has built his
We just saw shit like that, but for Dragon Ball Z. Ain't no way.
reputation for standing up to China. A man who banned over 250 Chinese apps. The man who's challenged China's hegemony at every turn.
118 apps have been banned by the Indian government of Chinese origin. That comes after early this year.
India has announced plans to ban 54 Chinese apps.
I'm not gonna lie. Not only has China looked at it and the people seemingly they like it too, but apparently so does freaking America. And America's over there like, maybe we should ban TikTok.
Somehow become a very popular figure.
And hell, Australia just banned the kids from social media all right together. And they said, nah, they don't need it. They need to go to school. They need to get themselves an education.
On Chinese social media. It's like the guy who flipped you off in front of your whole family becoming the most popular man in your family. In fact, he's become...
It's because, well, in all fairness, if your family sucks and the uncle is kind of cool and he has a leather jacket and black shades on, and at Thanksgiving he pulls up on a big motorcycle and flicks people off, and you know the turkey explodes behind him, it's pretty cool.
Become so popular that on Chinese social media, he even has a nickname called Modi Laoxian.
Despite the heated India-China border dispute, Chinese netizens adore PM Narendra Modi as Modi Laoxian.
So today we're going to talk about this popularity. Why is Modi so popular on Chinese social media?
It's cool.
In a country where social media is regulated so heavily, how is he still able to gather such a cult following? And what does this mean going forward for the India-China relationship?
Meanwhile, the Australian PM is taking selfies with the Indian cricket team. It's because he's an adult. And so he can handle social media because he's an adult. These kids, they can't handle social media. Are you kidding me?
Is this a positive thing or a negative thing? Let's talk about it. So Modi is known as Modi Laoxian over in China.
You know our Prime Minister, Narendra Modi?
It's bare biceps. And I recognized him because of his biceps, not because of his hair.
Everyone knows he's famous in China. But
Oh, really?
Laoxian is a term rooted in Chinese culture and often carries a mystical or spiritual connotation. It loosely translates to an elderly immortal with uncanny abilities. Lao means old, but in a respectful sense, often implying wisdom.
I love this definition of Lao. It means old, but like a cool old, not like a bad old.
Or reverence. Xian refers to an immortal sage from Chinese mythology or Taoism. And
so he's like an old wise sage. Nice. That's a badass name. Maybe I should get Lo to start calling me that.
together, Laoxian can be interpreted as a venerable immortal or ancient sage. So essentially, Modi is being seen as some sort of a Gandalf-like figure in
kind of like Jiraiya from Naruto.
China. Modi is somebody who is well known for utilizing social media to build his image and the image of the BJP. He's been
And Jiraiya wrote a book, very popular. That was basically the social media of the Naruto time. I'm just saying, same but different.
using this since he was a chief minister in Gujarat to connect more intimately with his voter base. Something that has really paid off for him in the political arena as well. With Modi now being a 3-term prime minister
Elishon, I'm not gonna lie, that might be the new name going forward. If I ever need a rebrand, holy shit.
of India. And so the Chinese point
Make
to both
out
his
tactics.
dress and his physical appearance seen as Laoxian-like and some of his policies which are different from India's previous leaders. Chinese social media users see his attire and physical appearance and relate it with wisdom and experience. They associate it with an elder statesman who views India with not just a short-term lens but also a long-term civilizational lens. And understand this, that it's very rare for the Chinese to give nicknames to a foreign leader, indicating that Modi has made a significant impression on the Chinese public. The Chinese, who take a great amount of pride in their culture, are seeing how Modi has presided over a cultural revival in India. India, which was more ashamed of their culture than Sonia Gandhi is of Rahul Gandhi, has in the last 10 years seen a rejuvenation of its culture. In September 2023, when
For
the
sure.
G20 summit was held in Delhi, Modi proudly flaunted India's culture to the world.
What? What's your name, homie? And it definitely it's cool to see that I don't know how to say this. It's cool to see. I like seeing culture have pride in its culture. Me being Hispanic, Hispanics love their culture. They love their freaking sugar skulls, the holidays, the festivities, family. I really appreciate when cultures really kind of dig 10 toes deep on that. And India seems to be very proud of its culture and the way that it's headed, and for very, very deserving reasons.
Modi's also presided over the reclamation of
Tomato!
the Ram Mandir.
सदियों की प्रतीक्षा के
Zhao Sheng? Is that how you say it?
राम
Hispanics and Indians are same root. Dude, it seems like, hold on, this is a perfect example. This is obviously Indian, right? But with the bright colors, the gold, the over the topness, respectfully, if we look at Hispanic cultures, it's the same thing with like Dia de los Muertos, where everyone's dressing up with their face and putting big. The girls are dressing up as the girl, I'm forgetting the name of the technical name, but it's all bright colors, and it's like with spices in the foods and all about family. It's like, I love that. I absolutely love that. So you're like our cousin? Exactly. And at the end of the day, we look at all of these beautiful languages, and I've done enough mushrooms to connect to something to where it's like we are all human at the end of the day. So somehow, some way, you are my brother. You know what I mean? Like if we're all on the same energy, all on the same frame wavelength, we're all here on this planet, sharing this beautiful planet together. Some way, shape, form, somewhere down the line, you're my brother.
And the development of various temple corridors throughout the country.
330-meter Kashi Vishwanath corridor that stretches from the complex to the Ganga's Lalita Ghat.
And I'm just going to say, from what I've seen with the Indian women and the Hispanic women, we both can agree that some of them have some great assets. And then I saw even Ace put up in the Discord. So if you guys want to get active in the Discord, Ace put up something in there. I believe it was him or maybe Arian, where it was like these Japanese and Indian girls. I didn't know. I had to put a little respect on it.
Modi's tenure has also seen the building of
And yet
grand
we're here bombing the
statues of
shit out of
Indian
each other?
deities and prominent figures throughout the
Literally, and unfortunately, it's just a terrible thing. But you have people like Modi, you even have people like Trump, even though people like to make Trump be this outlandish, over-the-top figure, where he just wants to stop the killing, and that's exactly what he said.
country, the abrogation of Article 370, and
You
the
put it in
permanent
there?
integration of Jammu and Kashmir with India, as well as the passing of the Citizenship
There you
Amendment
go.
Act and the general success of the Hindutva ideology politically as well as culturally in India. What's also resonated with the Chinese is Modi has emphasized cultural diplomacy to strengthen its ties with East Asian countries. His initiatives
Well, thank you, Omni, for doing that. I'm sorry I didn't remember that you put it in there. But I remembered that it was in there.
such as promoting yoga and Buddhism resonates positively with Chinese audiences. The gifting of a sapling from the Bodhi tree and organizing large-scale cultural events have also been well received. The Chinese also see that Modi is positioning itself to be a competitor for China in case US businesses start getting cold feet about China now that Trump gets elected and he's thinking of imposing high tariffs on China.
Nilesh, thank you so much for joining us. Let's talk a little bit more about why Foxconn has been making these moves out of China into India.
I think it all ties to geopolitics.
Apple assembled $14 billion of iPhones in India last fiscal year, doubling production and a sign it's accelerating a push to diversify beyond China. For more,
hearing a lot more companies who are moving out of China, wanting to come because they find the policies a lot more attractive, not just the PLI, but overall the ecosystem is now far more facilitative of such companies coming out.
And this is what's more, I'm invested in the Indian stock market, so I'm a little biased when I say that I want to see it succeed. But with the United States kind of imposing these tariffs on China, I have to look at this through my American POV, where it's like, okay, it's just going to be negotiation deals. And if India is propping up itself to be a manufacturing, pharmaceutical, maybe even this technological hub of the new world going forward, and that's how it's going to be its superpower, I mean, it makes sense that we're going to impose higher tariffs over there to get a better deal over here.
This
factory manufactures hundreds of thousands of televisions and air conditioners a month. But now it's in the process of turning into a different kind of operation.
Modi's tough stance on security, his firm handling of terror threats, and his willingness to stand up to China have made him a very different figure from the Indian political leadership that the Chinese have been used to. Modi's message since he came into power to India's enemies has been fairly clear. India will stand strong. And if there's one thing that the Chinese respect, it's strength.
और ये मोदी है, घर में घुस करके मारेगा.
I don't even need to know what he said to understand that this is badass.
ये नया भारत है. ये नया भारत घर में घुसकर मारता है.
Okay, I would like to know what he said there.
Taliban, bad Taliban. Good terrorism, bad terrorism. ये अब चलने वाला नहीं. अब समय
Is that good or bad? You're out of here.
कि आतंकवाद के खिलाफ और आतंकवाद को
Oh shit.
देने वालों के खिलाफ
Don't fuck with Grandpa Modi.
निर्णायक लड़ाई लड़ी जाए.
For many Chinese observers, this promotion of national identity and heritage and strength looks like what they've done with their own Confucian revival and nationalistic pride. Modi's approach to culture is not unlike China's promotion of Confucian values. Both Modi and Confucius saw the past as a tool to strengthen the present. Over the past decade, the Chinese have seen how Modi has consistently been recognized as one of the most popular leaders in the world. He has routinely topped the list of most popular world leaders. Modi has consistently ranked very high in the Gallup's annual most popular world leaders.
I wonder why. The man's gangster.
Gallup has surveyed the functioning of governments of 28 countries during the crisis period of Corona, and it has been revealed in the survey that PM
and sick beard.
Narendra Modi is the world leader #1 in dealing with this
that's what I'm saying. Like that, I saw him get inside and find around.
Time Magazine's annual list of 100 most influential people in the world multiple times, with mentions in 2014, 15, 17, and 20. In 2016, Modi was conferred with the Amir Amanullah Khan Award, the highest civilian honor of Afghanistan. In 2016, he was conferred with Saudi Arabia's highest civilian.
Can you guys give me a little context on what that award means?
Honor, the King Abdulaziz Sash by King Salman bin Abdulaziz. Think about this. A Hindu leader is getting the highest honor from the country where Islam was founded. That's some Laoxian shit right there. Meanwhile,
that is some Laoxian shit right there. He is the sage. He is Jiraiya.
Pakistani pilgrims to Saudi Arabia must submit a written declaration that they will not beg for money while they're in Saudi Arabia. That is an insane reputation to develop. Listen to what the global South countries are saying about Modi.
Victims of global power play, we want you to be an advocate for us and given support by you, the leader of the global South.
He was the first Indian to receive the Seoul Peace Prize in 2018 for improving international cooperation, raising global economic growth, accelerating the human development
South Korea?
of the people of India. In
he got something. Isn't that like a South Korean award?
2019, the UAE President Sheikh Khalifa bin Al Nahyan conferred on Prime Minister Modi the Zayed Medal, the highest decoration awarded to kings, president, and heads of state. Also in America in 2019, the massive Howdy Modi event was organized with President Trump. Just recently, Modi was also given the highest award in Dominica and Guyana. The Chinese see that at a time when pretty much every country in the world is turning on China, they also have respected India's ability to maintain friendly relations with pretty much every country around them, whether it's Russia, the United States, and countries of the global south. Remember how last year, India successfully hosted the G20 summit in India, and one of the most significant achievements of this summit under Indian leadership was securing the African Union's inclusion as a permanent member of the G20.
Yeah, this was a big deal.
का साथ की भावना से ही भारत ने प्रस्ताव रखा था कि अफ्रीकन यूनियन को G20 की स्थायी सदस्यता दी जाए।
This was a bold and visionary step that ensured greater representation of the global South, and it reaffirmed India's position as a de facto leader of the global South countries. India achieved a consensus on the New Delhi leaders' declaration, even on a divisive topic like the Ukraine conflict, without having to castigate Russia or severing its own relationship with Russia, despite desperate Western attempts to do so. That's an incredible balancing act. Like Akshay Kumar managing to make 75 movies in 1 year, or like politicians opposing the redevelopment of slums like Dharavi because they relate so much with the problems of the poor people while wearing a $200 Burberry shirt, or members of the LGBTQ community supporting Palestine, knowing fully well that the moment they step foot in Palestine, they will be taking a swan dive off of the tallest building there.
Yeah, they would be shot. It would not be good. So like Queers for Palestine, like what that sentence is just so crazy.
Finally, the Chinese also see that the tiger has decided to stand up to the dragon. The Chinese were particularly surprised and perhaps impressed by Modi's willingness to stand up to China, not just diplomatically, but militarily. In 2020, amid rising tensions between India and China over the border disputes in the Ladakh region, the Chinese troops ambushed the Indian troops in Galwan Valley, which resulted in the deaths of about 20 Indian soldiers.
China's Galwan lies of hiding its mammoth death toll has been busted yet again. An Australian report has claimed that People's Liberation Army lost at least 9 times more soldiers than its official count of 4 in the Galwan 2020 clash.
But what surprised China was that India retaliated immediately with a massive attack on the Chinese army, which killed more than 42 Chinese army men. Through this, India's government, led by Prime Minister Narendra Modi, sought to convey a strong message to China that they can bully whoever they want, but they cannot bully India. Right after
Once more, like I said, the man's gangster. He said, "You gonna fuck with us? I'm gonna fuck with you."
After the conflict, the Indian government decided to implement a ban on several Chinese apps that were hugely popular in India.
PUBG gone. India, no more PUBG for you. You gotta stick to the Scarfall 2, or worse, if we don't like you, if you watch out, you're gonna be forced to play Indus.
In June 2020, India banned 59 Chinese apps, and in the last few years, that total count of apps has gone up to 250, including TikTok, WeChat, Share It, Beauty Plus, YouCam Makeup, Photo Wonder, and Selfie City. That led to a very curious fascination from the Chinese towards India, and particularly Modi. It is also enhanced by previous Indian leadership when it came to China. Genuinely, the Chinese are not used to the Indians standing up to them. They're more used to the Indians rolling over, like your cousin's Pomeranian or Arsenal Football Club whenever they're in a title race.
Damn! Shots at Arsenal.
Come on, man. You did not have to write that joke, you know. That joke really hurts. In the early years after India's independence, the Congress Party, under the leadership of Prime Minister Jawaharlal Nehru, saw China as a key partner, giving the slogan, Hindi Chini Bhai Bhai. He also established formal diplomatic ties with the People's Republic of China in the 1950s, making India one of the first non-communist countries to recognize the PRC. The hope on Nehru's part was a strong India-China partnership based on Asian solidarity. But this admiration, this relationship was one-sided. Much like when you comment looking beautiful heart emoji on an Instagram influencer's page and think she feels the same way about you as you do about her. Spoiler,
she don't.
She doesn't. Nehru went out of his way to give China what they wanted. Nehru openly did not support Tibetan sovereignty despite Tibet's historical independence, allowing China to annex it. Nehru also created the Panchashil Agreement, or the 5 principles of peaceful coexistence. Prime Minister Nehru also apparently abandoned several opportunities for India to join the United States National Security Council as a permanent member in the 1950s. He instead relinquished India's permanent seat to China in order to build upon this imagined relationship. And the result of all of these things that Nehru did for China was the 1962 war and the annexation of Aksai Chin in Ladakh.
They constructed a road across Indian territory. Indian patrols were fired upon.
This is what in India is known.
I love those old school, like, just narrations. Ah, yes, you see, we have this road. It is being built by the enemies over there.
Colloquially as KLPD. Now, I'm not going to tell you what it is because my video is going to get demonetized, so you can Google that if you wish. Contrast that.
I will not be.
With the way Modi has acted when it comes to China. In fact, even the USA supported India for banning Chinese apps and looked to emulate that in their own country.
United States Secretary of State has supported India's decision to ban Chinese applications on mobile phones. Mike Pompeo said that India's decision will boost its security and sovereignty.
The Modi government also put restrictions on foreign investment from nations sharing a land border with India, aimed primarily at China. And so now that China has seen that India is willing to stand up to them, India is not going to simply back down like other countries that China may have tried to bully. So it seems like the freeze that existed on the relationship between India and China might be thawing a little bit. It seems India and China are working out a way to resolve their tensions. India and China have recently taken significant steps to resolve their long-standing border disputes, particularly along the line of actual control in the Himalayas. On October 21st, 2024, Indian Foreign Secretary Vivek Misri announced that both nations had reached an agreement on patrolling arrangements along the LAC, leading to the disengagement of troops and addressing issues that arose in 2020.
That's great to see. I want to see more of that. I want to see more diplomatic solutions where we can work together, and instead of, you know, like having bad blood, just throwing water underneath the bridge and then moving forward as a race, as humanity, and just being pro-human.
This is a very, very important development in geopolitics, because this is the first time that China has actually made concessions on areas that it technically claims, which is why it is a pretty big diplomatic coup for India. Indian Prime Minister and Chinese President Xi also met during the BRICS summit in Russia to emphasize managing disputes and supporting mutual growth and mutual understanding and respect. And look, a positive relationship between India and China is important for both countries. In recent years, the Indian-China trade has grown substantially, with annual bilateral trade volumes consistently surpassing $100 billion. In 2022, China became India's largest trading partner. The Chinese have huge investments in India and have targeted sectors like technology, e-commerce, and infrastructure. Popular Chinese companies such as Xiaomi, Oppo, and Huawei have a significant presence in China's electronics market. And look, whether it's India's foreign policy, whether it's Modi's influence, but for the very first time under Modi's leadership, there's a growing mutual understanding. And this time, it's not just a one-sided mutual understanding that India and China could be more than just neighbors who hate each other. In recent years, the West has grown increasingly hostile towards China, and also because of India's independent foreign policy and refusal to cut ties with Russia, some deep state actors in the West have also grown very hostile towards India.
Notice he said deep state. He is right. The American people do not hostile at all. It's our freaking government. And not even all of the government. It's the ones that are associated with the deep state and want to continue to propagate war, not peace.
And we have seen that hostility manifest in some indirect ways, from waving around human rights issues through government-sponsored democracy indices and religious freedom organizations like the USCIRF that are controlled by right Christian zealots, to harboring Khalistanis like Guru Patwant Pannu. We've seen allegations of extrajudicial killings by Canada and USA against India. We've seen the violent overthrow of the pro-India Bangladeshi government to install an anti-India Islamist regime, allegedly with the help of the USA deep state.
Hold up.
Anti-India Islamist regime, allegedly.
The U.S. deep state in the political appeal in Bangladesh. The deep state refers to the clandestine network of powerful individuals or groups within the government or military that operates independently of the elected officials to influence the control of the government and decision-making in order to pursue its own agenda, hence to keep propagating more wars.
With the help of the USA deep state. We have now seen
for most Americans, the America is the whole earth. Well, that's because we ain't too bright, okay? You gotta cut us some slack. Some of us are just retarded.
Allegations of corruption by the USA against Adani and attempts by the deep state-related media to tie that to the Indian.
Also, like, there's so much craziness that happens within the United States that it's just like it's hard to get even more craziness around the world, you know?
Government. It is possible that India and China announced the latest agreement on their border because of this hostility that they're both facing from Western governments. And look, this has the potential to be big, because an India-China partnership could create a new pole of power in the world with a massive economic power as well as a population of nearly 3 billion people. That is a very, very strong pole in opposition to the Western countries. And
I wonder if India would overtake Russia then in being the 3 superpowers. Right, if you have to have 1, 2, 3 superpowers, is it looks like it's bound to be India is going to be one of them.
Partnership that could again benefit both China and India. But unfortunately, this partnership is much easier said than done. For people thinking that this might be a new golden age for friendship between India and China, probably need to think again. For India and China to become allies, 2 very important things need to happen. One on India's side, one on China's side. On India's side, India needs political stability for at least the next 2 decades. A political stability that will allow India to continue to grow economically to being an $8 to $10 trillion economy. That will give India the power and importantly the influence to stand on its own, to be a major global power, and to be an equal partner in this China-India relationship. On China's side, the requirement is even more difficult, which is for China to give up its hegemonic ambitions. China needs to give up its ambitions of completely dominating every single country in its neighborhood and submitting them to China's will. And see,
Yeah, I don't see China doing that one.
that's really difficult for China. It's basically asking the Chinese Communist Party to go against their nature. It's like asking Karan Johar to stop casting Nepo babies in his movies, or asking the British to make food that actually tastes good.
Ha!
See, on India's side, maybe in a few years they might actually be able to fulfill their requirement. But
The Brits can't make food that tastes good, let's be honest. When they have a breakfast food called spotted dick, you know it's just their culinary tastes suck.
it would be much more difficult for China to fulfill theirs, seeing as their top ambition right now is to be a hegemonic power, seeing as they have border disputes with pretty much every single country in their neighborhood, seeing as they deliberately antagonize every possible country that should be their ally. Now look, stranger things have happened, but in the short term, I wouldn't bet my house on an India-China relationship just yet. But I want to ask you.
Yeah, their national dish is chicken tikka masala. It's not even British.
Do you see any kind of a positive India-China relationship developing in the near to medium future?
I don't know if I do. I don't know enough information to say yes or no. But all I could say is that I hope so. If you're picking up what I'm putting down, then please like the video, subscribe, and if you really like it, then share it with some of your friends. My goal here is to spread a positive message while sprinkling my 2 cents on big topics like American, Indian, and world geopolitics, and even small stuff like Twitch drama and online debacles. And if you want to see it live, come join me over on Twitch, twitch.tv/ActuallyElrod. That's where I'm going to do all my reactions, and after the reactions, that's where we get down a game. And if you're like, hey, I have a video that I want this dude to sprinkle his 2 cents on, then come over on my Discord and let me know and join the community there. And while we're at it, I have to say thank you to everybody who has made that Discord just so poppin'. I never thought I'd have a Discord that's so flowing. It's really cool to see. Shout out to you, Bobby, Omni, Demon, all of you who have been in there who are just super active. Logie, you're the man. Logie is the one who's like modding and helping run the server, so thank you, Logie. Lastly, I challenge you. I have a challenge for you. Make somebody laugh today. We all know there's enough hate and vitriol in the world. If energy is contagious like the flu, then let's spread and get everyone contagious with our positive energy, right? Not negative energy, because there's so much of that. And if we could just be a small little change in someone's day, then you never know. Maybe that's the thing that starts shifting this world to a happier, healthier, just better place. And with all of that said and done, thank you guys, and I'll see you on the next one.